Hello, everyone. This is just a quick update on our Big Ask campaign. You will remember that we launched the Big Ask in November of last year, and we're pleased to say, we're absolutely thrilled to say that we have hit our target of £50,000. $50,000, I beg pardon, $50,000. And for those of you who are eagle eyed and have checked our website, you will actually see that our total is sitting at 56,730. So we have hit our target and then some. And in actual fact, what we want to convey, and all we have to say is thank you, thank you, thank you, is that we are now sitting closer to $59,500 that has been raised through your generosity. Absolutely remarkable. And we are so pleased that you have responded in such a positive way, from small donations to very large donations. We have been absolutely overwhelmed by the generosity. And of course, the Big Ask was for a big reason. And we had pledged in our Big Ask that we had a number of goals, three in particular: the Townland Atlas, the digital Townland Atlas, turning this book here into an online resource, our parish source guide for the 9 counties of Ulster, and also our commitment to continue to add digital content, both databases and other electronic content. For example, one of our plans this year is a new migration theme in the Discover area. So we're just here to give you a quick update, as I said, about what we hope to do. We're getting our sleeves rolled up and getting to work. And one of the first projects we have started working on is the parish source guide. This has its genesis in William's research in Scots Irish ancestors book and the parish guide that's at the back of it. But it's about building on that and adding so much more content to it. And Gillian, you've been working on that with William. So do you want to just share with people what we plan to do, what we see the parish guide being whenever we release it?
Yeah, it's a really exciting project. As Fintan said, it's based on the parish section for those of you who have William's Research in Scots Irish Ancestors book. So we're going to have a page for every parish in Ulster, and then that will be broken down to all the different source categories. I think at the minute we have over 20 different categories for each parish, and it will contain, for example, a listing of all the church records for that particular parish with the reference numbers or the archives that you can then explore those records more fully. Similarly, a category on landed estate papers, again with the archival references there, and things like tithe records, Griffiths valuation, with the references to allow you really as a starting guide for your own research. It will take you directly to where you can get more information. And we're going to do that for all the parishes in Ulster, and it has the potential to just be constantly added to. That's what's most exciting. So although we're looking at the sort of biggest, most well-known categories of records at the minute, there'll be smaller records that are maybe only available for a few parishes, and they can be added on. So it becomes, over time, it just keeps growing and growing. And also we're hoping long term that it will be very much cross-referenced with other parts of our website. So if, for example, there's a particular book that we have digitized from our library and it relates to a particular parish, you'll be able to click into that. It'll take you to the section of our library for that book. So it's an exciting project, but it has the potential to just keep growing and growing and get more detailed and more useful as time goes on.
And members and supporters or researchers can help once we release. For example, gravestone inscriptions they may have taken for families in a given parish in Ulster, or absolutely, something else that we weren't aware of.
Yes, yeah. And that's what's so great, that you'll be able to help us, populate some of this information for the parish guide.
And the parish guide we want to use as a sort of learning experience, so to make the mistakes and learn the lessons. So when we come to the Townland Atlas, we'll have a stronger, more clear idea of how to achieve what we're after. But Gillian hit on a really important point there, is that the joined upness is of what we are looking at with what we're developing for members and users who come to our website, that the data is interconnected and
Mm.
related. And one of the projects, and it's a new piece of kit that we were able to purchase through the Big Ask fund, which has a very inexpensive but fantastic, which has allowed us to scan
Mm.
index cards. And we're now able to realize a plan for another really interesting source to sit alongside what we're doing. And that's a project on which Dr. Brian Turner, many of you will know his name from the family names in the Glens.
Mm.
But Brian has been working on this project since the late 1960s as a young man. And what you might describe as almost like a householder's index, for those of you who remember the pre-digital age of for the mid 20th century in Northern Ireland. And it is the names taken from the electoral register in 1963 at the DED, the District Electoral Division.
Mm.
And that is one of the last sources to use the townland, or electoral registers, I should say, to use the townland as the place identifier for the individual concerned. So that is another source that we're hoping to take forward and join in with, for example, the Parish Guide or the Townland Atlas.
Yeah.
And we've also been busy. I just want to bring you up to speed here because we have also just recently published William's complement to his research in Scots Irish, and it's his research in Ulster ancestors. You know this book intimately, Gillian, because you proofread every single chapter.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about, you give people a sort of sneak preview of what we're...
Yeah, it's a really good compliment to William's earlier book, and it follows on. It starts in 1800 and goes up to 1914, and it covers the big sources, looking at the detail of how to interpret them, how to access them. But what I found particularly helpful when I was proofreading it were the chapters on other sources that maybe don't always come to mind, or perhaps you think of them, but you're just not sure. There isn't a lot, written online. There isn't a lot in other genealogical guides about them. Things like hospital records, prison registers, other kinds of sources that are maybe just not as commonly thought of. And William's gone into a lot of detail about where those are held, how you can access them, the sort of information in them. So I just think this is an excellent book. I learned a lot proofreading it, and it continues to be used in my research for clients, so I really highly recommend it. That's a little plug there for it if you haven't already got a copy.
Isn't it fair to say that William blames you for the size of the book because you recommended adding more examples to it? And just before we, I suppose, finish in terms of what we're sharing, what we're working on and will be working on immediately ahead, we just want to also mention, I mentioned that migration theme that we're going to be delivering in the discovery area of the website, and two little databases that we've been able to capture recently and in process of being checked. And they're interesting in that they're the yin and the yang. And one is a card index that was prepared many years ago of transportees to Australia, taken from local newspapers in the north here. And to sit at the opposite of that is a listing of free settlers to South Australia. And everybody knows, and was pointed out to us when we were in Adelaide by Pauline, that South Australia was not a penal state. They only had free settlers. So those are two little databases that are really quite interesting. We've reached our target for the Big Ask, our initial target, but the campaign's not over. As you can see, people are still giving, and you can still continue to give if you feel you want to support us. So it's by no means over, and it's certainly not over because we have a big job of work to do. We wanted to deliver on the promises that we made to you, and our team are getting stuck in, as we would say here in Northern Ireland, to bring those materials that we said we would do with the Big Ask funding. So we will keep you abreast of these developments and progress as we go. But we also just want to, suppose, close out by saying that you can still support the project if you wish, if you want to donate, but you also could perhaps donate in other ways and help in other ways. And for example, volunteering if you're a very good record transcriber or very good checker of databases, or if I mentioned to our local members and supporters, if you have any library experience, our library has grown so much in recent times. We really could use help there. And Gillian, you have a really interesting story just on our last library donation that we received from the late Rodney Brown.
Yes, so a few months ago, a well-known history teacher, Rodney Brown, sadly passed away. and his family decided that they would have an open house where people could come and take some of his history books, particularly for their own use. I went along one of the Saturdays and took a few books, and then I got speaking to the family and told them about our organisation, and they very kindly decided to donate the rest of his history collection, which was over 2,500 books that are now added to our research library.
A wonderful, wonderful gift by the family.
Mm,
And we are very proud to take the receipt of that donation.
mm,
And local visitors, or if you're planning a trip to Ireland and are coming to see us, you will be able to see Rodney's library in situ on the ground floor of the building.
mm.
So I think that's all we have to report for now. Just we want to thank you again,
Yep.
and we mean that very sincerely. We want to thank everyone who has given towards the big ask, and we look forward to keeping you up to date with progress.